Hello everybody, I am Squidski, and I'm going to be showing you my ranking of the top 10 maps in the Mapcore Contest. I decided I wanted to do this because I really wanted to get just all my feedback out there. I feel like in a lot of ways, a lot of people kind of don't always outright say their like true feedback they're thinking. But I think now that all the maps are finalized, I really want to just go through and just give all my pure, unadulterated thoughts on what I think of all the maps. And yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so the first map I'm going to talk about is Stronghold. As you may know, I worked on this map, so I'm not ranking it. This is, I guess you could say this is an honorable mention. I feel like it wouldn't really be fair for me to be ranking this, and I think it would be kind of hard to take a lot of my other feedback seriously, or feedback or thoughts or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to kind of mention a couple things about having worked on it, but this isn't technically going to be part of the ranking, just because I don't think it would be fair for me to rank a map that I worked on compared to other maps, because I want people to kind of take my feedback, my thoughts kind of seriously, and I feel like that kind of just kind of makes it a lot harder to do. So this map, as you may know, this map is speed sheets. This map is set in Gibraltar. B site is the a big battery gun over the coast, and A site is a Moorish castle. So on this map, I basically just made effectively some models. I did some technical stuff. Really not that much in the grand scheme of things. It was really Hasselhoff that did most things. Kale did basically the entire art of A site, more or less. And T-Rexer did the layout. So I really didn't do that much overall. I mean, I made the rocks. I imported the trees. I bought the trees. I didn't really like make the trees, I guess you could say. I mean, I made like this model, but you kind of get it. I made a couple hero props, but I really didn't. I really wasn't the main driver behind this map. So I want to say, I do think everything looks quite good, especially the parts that I didn't make. And I actually quite like the layout. Funny story, when I had originally play tested this, I actually told T-Rexer, I said, I didn't really like it. I feel like some parts were too big. I feel like you could make it a lot smaller. And I do think in some ways that is kind of true, but I replayed it in one of the Mapcore Face It tournaments, and we had a very close game. I don't remember. I think we were one round away from overtime or something, but it was a very intense game. It was really good. It was just really fun with how close the game was. We got all the rotations down. We got everything else down. I forgot to exec my config. That's why the round's restarting. But that game kind of changed my opinion on the layout. Because I was originally critical of it, even though I worked on the map. But I think that match really changed my view on how I see the layout. So I quite like it now. I think another funny thing that I'll mention before I move on to the actual ranking is so a lot of people will say, "Oh, the map is too big. The map is really big," which I think that is a fair criticism, or whatever you want to call it. It is quite big, a lot bigger than a lot of other CS maps. But I think what's funny is a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's too big. Like it would never be added. It's just too big. Like there's no map that's ever been this big." But like, if you actually the way this map was built is the timing to A is actually essentially the same as the choke point timing on overpass. If you know overpass, the T spawn up to A is a very long route. You have to run through a whole like section of the map to get there, and the timing is essentially the same on this map. So, and that's definitely fine if you don't like that. This is definitely on the bigger side, but I think it's funny that people just can't put the frame of reference, in their mind for like, oh, this is like the same lane. So I didn't always think that's funny when people say that, but I definitely understand the criticism that it's very big. So I get that, and I also think that means it's not for everybody, because not everybody likes overpass. And not to say this map is as good as overpass, but it is similar in a lot more ways than I think some people initially think. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I quite like a lot of the work on this map, especially the parts that weren't done from me. So good job, everybody. But now that I got that out of the way, I just kind of wanted to talk about it. I'm going to move on to my actual ranking of where I place all these maps. So on to the next map. All right, and coming in at number 9 in my official ranking is, unfortunately, I guess you could say unfortunately, is Wild. So I'll say what I want to say about this, but first, what I want to mention is I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I'm going to have some sort of UI on the screen here that shows whether I have or have not played a map, because I want to be open about what maps I haven't played. I played about 2/3 of them, I think. So I guess what you can see whether I played a map or not, and that can kind of make you know if you want to ignore what I have to say, because I want to be open about that, but I also still want to give my thoughts. So Wild, as you can see, I have not played this map yet, and I don't know when I will or if I will, but I haven't played this map. But so I'll start with talking about why this is number 9. And honestly, why this is number 9 for me is mostly because of the art. I don't think it's bad, but I think so 90% of the map is essentially just rock, which I don't think is necessarily an issue, but I think since like in a lot of areas there's no accents along with it, and I think that really kind of brings it down for me. I don't think it's bad by any stretch, but I think it makes it quite boring, I think, if that makes sense. So like this is cool. This is quite cool. Like this under area with all this machinery, like this elevator. Like I think this is quite good, and this adds a ton of variety. So I very much approve of this. That's good. But the problem is most of the areas of the map aren't really like that. They're just kind of like just rocks. Like they kind of look samey. I know this map took me a while to get the layout down. Again, I haven't played it, but I understand the layout, and it really took me a while to understand the layout, which I don't want to try to make myself sound like really good or whatever, but I can get layouts down really fast. And this one kind of threw me for a loop. I think it's because, well, I mean, one of the layout is a little crazy or wild, if you will, which is fine. I like crazy layouts, but yeah, also the art. Like for example, there's really not a lot of hero assets, I guess you could say. Like here, like you could say like this overpass is kind of this kind of structure is kind of like a hero asset, but even then it's like, yeah, if you know what you're looking at, right? Like if I'm just looking at this and I just see rocks, like I might not necessarily know that this is supposed to be standing out, but like if I'm, if I know clip out here, it's like, oh, this is kind of obvious. This is supposed to be like a really interesting, I guess you could say, fixture, with like an overpass that you could like jump over and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of why I have this lower. I will say the layout looks kind of crazy, but again, haven't played it, so I'm not going to say too much about it. This area is quite a bit nicer. You have like this orange rock, but even then it's still just kind of that. You have this bunker, which is nice, but it's kind of bland still. I don't know. It's kind of hard, I guess, to say, because the whole thing's just kind of rocks with some stuff in it. I guess that's a simplified way to look at it. So I definitely don't think it's bad by any means, but I would definitely like to see a lot more variety. Like for example, this inner lab here. This is nice. I mean, I will say even the lab looks a little generic. Like I think everything in here is a stock asset, which almost everything, maybe everything, or at least almost everything is a stock asset, which kind of really takes it down a couple points for me. I don't think maps are good because they have custom assets. I think custom assets make maps look more unique, and I think that's an interesting line to try to go between, because there are definitely some people, and I've seen it in the community, where they say, oh, this map has no custom assets, it's bad. Well, yes and no. It's not bad because it doesn't have custom assets. And again, this isn't bad, but it's an issue because it doesn't look super unique, if that makes sense. So the outsides look unique, even if they're kind of samey everywhere. They certainly look unique, and you see this, you immediately know what map you're on. Right? If I'm in here, I have no idea what map I'm on. Like, it almost looks like a co-op mission from CSGO. Obviously, the lighting and materials are all better, but you know what I mean? Like, it has the same kind of art style, because it's a lot of the same assets. So, I think that's kind of where I put it here. I will say I do really like Hostage, and I haven't played this, but I think the layout seems kind of crazy. So maybe it could go up a point or two, or a spot or two in my ranking if I played the layout and it was good. But honestly, I don't know that I'd hold my breath, just because the layout is kind of crazy. So I don't know. That's where I stand on this map, though. So on to number 8. All right, coming in at number 8 is Flick, and I have played this map. So why I have this map at number 8? I will say, from a technical perspective, a lot of the stuff on this map is well done, but a lot of my issues with this map are more large picture, I guess you'd say big picture issues. So we'll just get right into it. A lot of the small details here are quite good. Like, you know, this scenery right here with the lighting is really good. I really like this. I think you could say that about almost every area on the map. Like, this is quite good. You know, like the composition, the lighting, it's good. No issues there. My problem, kind of a couple related problems. So this is supposed to be kind of like a Universal Studios type theme park. And if you're not familiar with Universal Studios, the original premise of the theme park is it's a theme park / movie studio hybrid. So as part of the theme park, you could like tour the movie studio, the back lot, all that kind of stuff. And I've been to a lot of these parks, so I'm very familiar with these. My issue is that this is kind of supposed to be that, but it's not really that. So they picked this theme, which is fine. They have some good stuff here, you know, some shop. The entrance is basically modeled in a lot of ways off of the Universal one. So if we're thinking about this as a actual theme park, for example, this is, to put it bluntly, not what an actual theme park would look like. The movie studios are never actually in the theme park. They're in a separate section because the theme park is way too noisy to actually have the movie studios in, or the sound stages, I guess you could say. And you know, you could say, oh, this is kind of pedantic, but honestly, for me, I think it is an issue because if we're using this theme is really interesting with the different types of shops, different types of rides, everything. There's so much you can do, so much interesting things you can do, and we're just kind of relegated to having sound stages here, which, like, even if you just think about how this theme park would work, like you walking through it, like you would never walk through sound stages to get anywhere. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like yeah, like some of the stuff is well done, but it's like it just doesn't make sense to me, and that is a big sticking point for me. I did excuse it a lot in the earlier stages of the contest, but I think at this stage in the contest, I think it's something that I personally have to consider. And you don't have to agree with me, but that's where I stand in a lot of ways. So on top of that, on top of this not really being structured like a theme park, and me, not that the theme is wasted, but like I feel like it could be so much more interesting in a lot of ways. But what I will say, the other big issues that are like very related to that, and on top of that, are the bomb sites, which as you may know, are a very important fixture in maps. They're arguably the most important fixture in maps. Okay, so a site here. If you're just looking at this with no context here, you're just seeing this image, it might not even be clear really what this is. And so I actually have played Flick quite a lot. I've played in the very early phases of this map. I don't know if it was one of the first playtests or one of the oldest versions of the map, but this was quite a while ago. And this bomb site before, this is actually supposed to be rafters above a soundstage, like where they'd have like lights and all that kind of stuff above it. And so what this originally was it was all metal grating, and you could actually fall over the edge. Like there were gaps here that you could just fall down to the soundstage and die, which I thought was interesting. It was an interesting theme, but the problem was it was kind of bad. It's kind of bad to play, which is fine. Not all ideas work, and that's what mapping is. You have to change things up, but the theme never changed, and now we have this kind of like wood rafters thing, which doesn't really make any sense. Like there's no, like, where do I control the lights? Like there's lights right here, you know what I mean? Like what is the purpose of this, I guess you could say. And that also, so that in itself might not be a big issue if we're kind of like keeping a theme, but just kind of like, oh, it's not as realistic. That's fine, there's no issue with that. The problem I have is that this is a bomb site, and so we have a movie studio theme park. We could have any possible bomb site in the world we could think of. We could have a ride, we could have some incredible movie set with insane, anything we want, and we have kind of fake rafters above a soundstage. That is my main issue here. This could be so interesting, but we have wood and metal, you know, just kind of rafters here. Yeah, the issue I have is just what we don't have here, and I think for me that really brings the map down, just because when I'm playing this I can only think about how cool the map could be with this theme, and then I just don't get it, and that's really the core of my issue with this map, which is what I kind of was on about with the based on Universal. but kind of like not really looking like a theme park. That's kind of what I was talking about there. But over on B side, I have a similar issue. I think new set is an interesting idea, but I think the problems I have are, I guess the main problem I have is this is supposed to be a news set, right? I don't think this is a movie, like, you know, a news set in a movie. So my thought is, why is there a news set in a sound set? You know what I mean? Like, this is a theme park sound, like, movie studio. And I don't believe this is supposed to be a movie set, because you can see, I mean, there's this, like, geodesic dome. There's all this stuff, like, specifically built for this. I don't think this is supposed to be a movie set. I think this is supposed to be an actual news set. And it just, like, in my mind, I'm just like, this could be such a cooler thing than news set. This one is probably more controversial than A-Site, because, I mean, this is cool in a lot of ways, but in my mind, I'm just thinking, like, why is there a news set here? And you might see these complaints as pedantic, but honestly, for me, they really, when I'm comparing these maps head to head, I really want to look at everything. And I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but for me, I just see the lost opportunities, I guess you could say. And that's why I think this about this. Again, not to say that a lot of the technical stuff isn't well done. I just would have liked more interesting decisions, large scale, I guess. And I will also say, I have complained a lot publicly. A lot of people have complained a lot about this western section. And it is certainly a lot better than it used to be, but I still think it's like a lot of the texturing looks kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Like, this isn't really how things would blend, or like the textures just look weird. It's, yeah, something just looks off about it, and people have talked about this a lot. And people have complained about this a lot, and I still agree. It's definitely a lot better than it used to be, but I for sure think this area still needs just redone. To be blunt, I think it just needs redone. I think it looks quite meh. Nothing wrong with the western section, but I don't like the texture choices here, to be honest. So, I think those are my main complaints about the map. It's number 8 because I think the theme could be so much more interesting, regardless of any technical things. I think the theme could be just done so much more interesting. But I also want to mention the layout here, because I have played this map. I am not a huge fan of this layout. I have never liked B-Site. This has been more or less the same since the early version. I mean, it's obviously some of the covers moved around, some of the angles are changed, but I mean, this is more or less the same structure as what the original version of the map that I played was, and I've played it now, and it still feels quite similar, and I still don't really like it that much. It's not that bad, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, so I do have more concrete complaints about A. The site itself is fine. I don't have any issues with the site. My issue is this entrance here. I don't like this. This is quite odd. I'm at smoke grenade, my bad. So, when I've played this, the issue I have is these angles are quite weird. So what the CTs will often do is throw a smoke right here, somewhere around here, and then you're just stuck basically. And you can, like, you know, block between this crate and this. You can block between this crate and this. You can actually block this whole angle. And the issue is, this is just so awkward to play because, one, CTs can be up here, which is not always fun to play. There's weird angles here. And then, you know, then you're just stuck behind the smoke. And then the CTs could be literally anywhere. They could be behind this, they could be behind that, they could be around the corner, they could be up here, which isn't necessarily a problem. But the fact that CTs can see over the smoke is tough. And it's even, I mean, it's also a problem back there because that is higher than this. Or they can stand on top of this crate. I mean, it's all the same thing, right? Like, they can play around the smoke however they want, and you have no choices as a T. You're just kind of stuck. And this is the only way up here, unless you go all the way around the map. But that also being said, this crate has been here basically since the first version of the map, or at least the first version of the map that I was aware of. Same exact shape. I honestly don't like that it's been here the whole time, just because I think this is not great. And essentially, if you want to get up this, you have to jump up this, which, I mean, first off, this is already a head angle. Like, they can see you jump here. I'm sure there's, like, some interesting crouch jump you can do here so that they can't see you, but it's going to be potentially precise depending on where they're standing, which is not great in itself already. But that also means if you want to get here, you need to jump, which jumping has its risks. It puts you at risk to do it. So you have to, I mean, you're going to have to do this, and then shoulder peek this, which, I mean, there could be a CT standing anywhere. Like, they could be standing right here, and they could potentially see you, and it's just not great. I don't like that there's a jump up in the middle of everything. I generally don't like jump ups like this. They're okay when they're along walls and stuff, but here I just don't like this in the middle of everything. I know this is kind of iconic at this point to this map, but I just don't like it. I didn't like it when I played it. I'm sorry to say. Otherwise, I think the layout's passable for the most part. Mid is a little wonky to play as a T, but otherwise I think the layout is passable. But yeah, I don't want to sound too harsh, but yeah, that is my feedback on this map, and I'm going to move on to the next map. All right, coming in at number 7 is Warden. This might be a surprise. People generally quite like this map, but for me, I have a couple bones to pick with this map. One, I'll get this out of the way. People have talked about how this map was in development for a long time and arguably finished or close to being finished by the start of the contest. And I think that's something we need to consider. I'm not going to use that to affect my ranking here, but I do want to put it out there that I am aware of it. It doesn't really impact my feelings about this map. Second thing, I have not played this map. I have seen people play it, which is different from actually playing it, but I just want to put it out there that I have not played this map. But a lot of my complaints anyway are about the art. So even if I played the map and the layout is just fine, I don't think it would affect it. If I thought the layout was bad, it might take it down another spot. But a lot of my complaints are about the art. So getting right into it, the map is well done, and again, like the last map, from a technical perspective, it's very well done. A lot of the areas they look really good. Like right here, this looks quite good. You know, there's no like issues on the small scale. My issues are again large scale with this map. One, colors are the same everywhere basically. Like it's all this kind of like, I don't want to say desaturated, but like yellowy color. Not necessarily an issue, but the problem is it's like everywhere. Like everywhere is just this kind of like yellowy, almost a beige color, which it gets a little old for me. Like even with this green area, right? It's still really beige. I don't know. But yeah, I think, for example, I think this is the most interesting area of the map because it's got different colors. This is arguably one of the only memorable areas of the map for me. And yeah, I think this is probably the best area on the map. And I think everything else, and one of the problems with that is that this is mid, which is not really what you want in a map always, because what that means, or I guess, so for example, A site is not really memorable to me because it just creates on a bomb site. Now, see, this is some classic cat food mapping. Nothing against cat food, but this is classic cat food right here. Always, the sites are like always boxes like this. Basically, every map he's made that I could think of. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. The problem is, for me, the map theme is not interesting enough to have crates as a bomb site. So, for example, I think Ruby, his map Ruby, also had crates on the bomb site. Honestly, one of those sites looked almost exactly like this, I feel like, with the crates in the corner like this. And honestly, it worked in Ruby because the map theme was interesting enough that it was like, okay, like it's like I would like a hero prop here maybe, but it's fine, it works because the rest of the map is interesting. But here, not that the map is bad, but it's just like kind of bland and there's nothing memorable about a lot of areas. Like the showers are cool, but like the only reason that this is different from the other areas of the map is because of these shower props. If these weren't here and this tile was different, this would look almost exactly the same as every other area of the map. And that's kind of the main issue for me. And I think a lot of that boils down to the theme. I don't think it's a great theme. Not that it's done poorly. Not that it can't be a good map. I just think the theme does not allow for... The theme is quite restricted in what you can do and make it look thematically good. And when you also put just crates on the bomb site like this, I think it kind of makes me see everything as kind of just bland. And it also makes it not memorable, right? Like if everything kind of looks the same, like this is memorable, but you don't see this as a T, right? You're coming this way. And some of the geometry is cool, but like there's no hero props. There's no, like there's nothing like that. And I mean, B-Site's the same way, right? It's the same thing, just crates, but just inside. And this is slightly better because it's like an interesting shape of a building, but I mean the colors are essentially the same. I mean you have this yellow here, which is also another area of the map, and it just kind of makes it look a little beige still. I'm making it sound like I really hate this map. I really don't. I like it. I just think the theme is not great. Just because I think the theme restricts what you can do too much. And like, yeah, I think the theme just restricts what you can do too much. And I think like, even if you replace the crates at the bottom side, I honestly don't know how you make this more interesting. Like, I don't know what prop you could put here to make it feel like a prison and also like do the same kind of job like with the angles on the site. Like I don't know, maybe a piece of the building fell through the ceiling. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And I think that's part of the issue with the theme. It's like I think there's only so many things you can do, and I think it's quite tough, especially when the bomb sites aren't based on anything. Like if you were blowing up like I don't know the middle room, that could be cool. Like if you're walking around these like walkways and there's like a bomb site in one of the cells. I don't know if that could work, but for example, that would be quite cool. That would be very memorable. But like as it is, the bomb sites just aren't there. And I think that's largely the issue with the theme. Again, I haven't played this map, but I don't know that the layout would impact my opinion on this map. To be honest, maybe move up or down one spot, but I think it would stay around number 7 either way. To be honest, just because I think similarly to the last map, there is a large. It almost feels like we're losing something because we're not getting a more interesting theme, right? Like obviously these are very talented mappers, and I think with a more interesting theme, I think the ceiling would be a lot higher. I think the ceiling for this theme is unfortunately a little low. So yeah, I like a lot of the technical work. A lot of stuff is quite good, but I think the theme is really holding this map back. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Warden. So on to the next map. All right, coming in at number 6 for me, this may be a surprise for some people, is Grail. I know this is, in a lot of ways, a lot of people's, honestly, a favorite for people to win their competition, to be honest. But for me, I have some issues with this map. And again, this is a map that I have played, as you can see. But yeah, I'm going to get into it. So this map's theme is a mini golf course with this giant octopus as the main... I guess one of the main hero props. Like it's half the map basically. You can see it on, and then otherwise it's like this mini golf theme park type thing. So my first issue with this map, disregarding anything else, is I don't like the theme, and I know that might be kind of a hot take. People like the theme, but for me, I've always had an issue with the way that this map was built, because, as I said earlier. I have been to a lot of theme parks. I am very familiar with like what people do, and my issue here is this does not look like any theme park that would exist that I've ever seen. Maybe I'm completely wrong and there is something here, but first off, mini golf is basically always a small scale operation. I mean, you have some stuff with scenery, but never anything nearly this big. And you might think it's nitpicking, but for me, honestly. That kind of I don't want to say ruins it for me because I still quite like the map, but I think for me the theme not being grounded in reality makes it tough for me to rank this map any higher, just because it feels like I'm in some fantasy world that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with the stylized assets. I very much like the stylized assets in like the quote unquote real world, but for me it's the structure of the map. Not even the assets. Like for example, what are these paths? Like none of these paths are like actual golf holes. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like in a normal mini golf thing. Like a bridge like this may very well be the golf, like one of the holes, or like I don't know. Like is this supposed to be a hole? Like I don't know. Like it doesn't feel like a mini golf course to me. If it was a theme park, if it was just a theme park, maybe that's fine. But it's like trying to be both, and I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And again, that is a big issue with me. And so I guess I want to be clearer on this. People will say like for example, on Inferno, you'll have a window, and then on the other side of the window, it doesn't actually correspond to, like, there's not a window on the other side. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. I can excuse that. What I mean is, like, it's not believable to me that it is a place that could actually exist. And I think that's a big thing in CS maps. I think you need to make it feel like a place that actually exists. And for me, this doesn't feel like one. But I'm going to move past that and talk about why I have this actually at number 6. Because I had similar complaints about a lot of the other maps. But why I have this above is... I mean, the stylized props. I really like this. I really like the idea of having stylized stuff like this in the real world, because that's how actual theme parks work, at least like high quality ones. I mean, even mini golf courses do that too. So I quite like that idea. I really like it, and honestly, a lot of stuff is really well done with like it going through the building here. It's being wrapped around the golf ball. That's really good. I really like that. These set pieces are really cool. It's very ambitious, which I really like. Approve, definitely. I think it's a good use of the theme that they were going for. Again, I don't think it's a theme that makes me believe that it's something that exists, but I think those are two different things to keep in mind. And I will say, I do really like the idea of having like, stylized exteriors, feels like a theme park, and then these between areas are like realistic, just like maintenance rooms. I really like the juxtaposition of those. I think it really works. And I just I guess I would have liked to just see more, to be honest, like, just to believe that it's a real place that exists. I think that's really my main issue. I have said I have played this. Honestly, to be real honest, I was not a huge fan of the layout. I don't think it was like offensively bad or anything. It's just not. I just don't really like it. I don't like some of the angles. Like, I don't know. I don't really like this angle. I don't really like playing over here as a CT. I don't know. Just stuff like that. But honestly, it's not like offensively bad. Like, it doesn't. Maybe if with a better layout, I might rank this map or two higher. I don't think I'd rank it lower. If the layout was worse, to be honest. I think the art is ambitious, but I would have liked the big picture stuff to be done a little more realistically, I guess. Again, love the idea of the stylized assets in the quote-unquote real world, but I'm not a huge fan of the way that it was executed in a lot of ways. So I think that's really all I have to say about this map. It is kind of middle of the road for me just because of those two competing things. I like the ambition, but I also think it could have been done a lot more quote-unquote realistically, or made it feel like a real place. So that's where I stand on that. Yeah. I think I'm just going to move on to the next map now. Alright, coming in at number 5 is Jura. Jura? I don't speak Polish. So anyway, so this map is a Polish castle, I guess a famous Polish castle, like ruins of it. I don't know too much about the theme specifically, but that is what it is. It's based off of a real place. So why I have this map at number 5. I think the composition looks good. It's very simple. But there's nothing wrong with that. Simple can be quite good if the colors are good, and they really are. Like, this white and yellow, white and like this reddish. Like, having like the white as the base of this map is really good, and it really allows all the colors to pop. And even with the older versions that were technically less detailed, it really had the same thing. This would have been lower in some of the older versions just because some areas were a little bit less finished. But as it is, I think I have this map at 5 right now, just because of how well the art works, even for how simple it is in some places, which nothing wrong with that. If it works, it works, I really like the colors. That's the main thing I was kind of talking about. I've never seen this before in a map, having like this kind of netting in front of scaffolding, but it honestly really works. It's a really interesting way to add color to a map that I've never seen before. I wonder if more people will do it now, but it really works, because like if there was no netting here, this would be a lot more boring, right? But it just adds so much color in a lot of different areas. It's over here too, right? Yeah, it just adds a lot, and I really like it. I don't know that I'm gonna really have too much specific to say, just because this map is kind of middle of the road for me. It's good. It's not bad. I don't have too much negative to say about it, but I don't have like, I'm not gonna go. I don't think it goes like super above and beyond on anything for me to like spend a lot of time talking about the intricacies, a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. I just think the composition works really well. It's a simple map for the most part. The theme is cool. The rocks are good. Like, you know, it feels like a real place. It feels like a place that exists. Colors are good. The layout seems somewhat interesting. I've played this. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that's honestly all good. I can't talk about a few criticisms. The reason that this map is not higher is honestly mostly because of B-Site. I think these tunnels to be are good. Don't have any issues with them. But honestly, I think B-Site is a little boring. It's just kind of this underground room with this, like, fossil, I guess? I don't know. It feels a little big to be a fossil. Maybe those exist. Maybe this is a real place here. I don't know. But I feel like the reason I like a lot of this map up here is because of the composition. The white works really well with all these colors. It works really well. But, like, here, it's dark. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. I feel like it's the antithesis as to why I like the rest of the map. So I think with a bomb site that I find more interesting, artistically, I think it could be higher. But I think this bomb site kind of keeps it middle of the road for me. I have played this map. I was not a huge fan of the map, but I think when I played it, we just did not know how to play CT. Because I think we needed to have a CT player over here, and we just kind of didn't. So I think I'd have to replay it with another CT. But like the other half of the map, I didn't really have an issue with. So I think it's just that, and I think we were just playing it wrong. So yeah, I kind of blame myself a little bit on that. But otherwise, yeah, I really wish I had more to say about it. But it's a decent map. It's a good map, you know, good composition. Nothing particularly bad about it for me, other than I'm not a huge fan of the bottom side. I wouldn't say the bottom side is bad, though. I would just say I'm not a huge fan of it. Those are two different things. My opinion is not objective fact, but also, you know, I can see when something is like technically done poorly, and I don't think that's the case at all. I just think I'm not a huge fan of it. One other thing I want to call out about this map, though, is I love these binoculars. I love the kit bashing. I love just throwing together every prop imaginable to make a single prop. I love it so much. Bike handles, bottles, a lock from a door, other props that I probably cannot figure out. This is a signpost, I think, from Just 2. I don't know. I love it so much. I love stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, wish I had more to say about this map, but it's good, decent map. I'm just going to move on to the next map. Alright, coming in at number 4, and I want to say, before I show this, the top 4 maps for me were, in their current state, probably the hardest to rank. I like a lot about all of them, to be honest, but yeah, this is just kind of where it ended up after me kind of comparing them head-to-head. So I like all of these, and I think, honestly, you can make the case for any of these being number 1, but I'm just going to get into this. Number 4, I have Alpine. This might also be a surprise to some people. A lot of people have this number 1, number 2, but for me, in its current state, I have this at number 4. And as to why I have it at number 4, I'll talk about why I have it at number 4 in a second. But I'll talk about what this map does well first. The art is very good. I mean, like, it feels like a resort, right? Like a ski lodge, I guess. Like, these areas all look really good. They're really well done with the wetness, with the lighting. Like, it's just all done really well. These interior areas are quite good now. Before, in the last version, they were a little wonky, but they're pretty much all good now. Still not a huge fan of this room. I understand this is what a lot of old ski lodges look like with these ugly green. I would call this an ugly green color. Nothing against your choice to use it, but that's just what these look like, and I think it's an ugly green color. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this room artistically. But I understand this is what a lot of these areas look like in old ski resorts. So, you know, either way on it. But yeah, like, all the other areas are quite good, and I really like them. Like, it just looks really good. The composition is really well done. I really like this bear rug. It's very nice. I like it. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about. I will say I am partial to this theme as well, because this is the same theme as the map that we had worked on, Frostbite. You might be familiar with. It's essentially the same theme. Obviously, we didn't really do a resort like this, or a ski lodge specifically like this, but I mean, a lot of the stuff is the same, like the poles with the gondolas. I mean, this, you know, the ski slope with these things. Like a lot of this stuff, we also did a frostbite. So I am partial to this theme. I'm not saying that this map is copying that. I realize this is a completely different map and it's a different game. I am saying that's why I am partial to this theme. But I think the reason I don't have this higher is not because it's Hostage. I do really like Hostage, and I have a lot of... I'm a big Hostage enjoyer. I have a lot of strong opinions about Hostage maps, how to make good Hostage maps. I think if we cut the map off right here, everything on this side of the map, very good. I approve. Good Hostage map design. This is the type of Hostage map where you have two separate hostages, kind of like bomb sites. Not every Hostage map is designed like that, but this one is. But I think it does a good job at it. I think the routes are really well done. The angles are really well done. Where you're supposed to hold from as a T are really well done. So that's all really good. Really like that. All perfect for a Hostage map. My main issue with the layout, this is with the specifically with the layout. No issues with the art really. Is this half of the map. So the rescue zone's over here. The issue I have is this is an incredibly open area. No matter where a CT comes from, no matter where a CT comes from, if a T is over here, it can be quite tricky to actually rescue the hostage. Because it's so wide open, right? Like, if I could play all the way from back here, there's nothing stopping me, and I could see every possible entrance to the thing, but from very long angles. So if I have an op here, the CT may very well have no chance to rescue the hostage. Depends how many people are alive, obviously, where they're coming from, but that was kind of an issue I had while playing it. I've played this a couple times. Playing around this can be a little bit weird with how close quarters it is. Like, close quarters into the long angle, this can be quite strong to play. But the core of the issue is I don't hate how open this is, but I think it plays a little weird in some cases, and that is honestly the reason why I have this at number 4. I think if I like this better, I would rank it higher, but completely subjective reasons for this rescue zone, I have it at number 4. I'm sorry if this disappoints anybody, but that's where I'd put it. I don't really have any complaints about much else. I mentioned anything else I have a complaint about, but otherwise, I'm not a huge fan of this rescue zone, and that's why I have this at number 4. Don't know that I have too much more to say about this. Yeah, I think a lot of my issues just revolve around that. So good map, though. And I'm going to move on to the next one. All right, coming in at number 3 is Palacio. And I want to cover something while I'm here, unrelated to the map. If you see I'm getting warm, it is very warm in here. So hopefully my look does not disturb you. I'm glowing. So on to Palacio here. I have this at number 3. I have played this. The art is very well done. I had some issues with this last stage. Some of the plaster looked a little not worn enough for me, but I think it's mostly there now, to be honest. I think it's quite good. Yeah, like the blending just looks a lot better than it did the last stage. I've always really liked the interior areas. They've always looked really good. The lighting and assets are good, like with the reflections on what's there. Of course, I looked at doors that don't really have reflections, but I mean, like anything else, you know, like the reflections are really good. It's really well done with the lighting. Yeah, the art is just really well done. And I will say, I do really like the layout as well. I've played this. I very much enjoyed it. I think the bomb sites are fun for the most part. I really like the pathing around mid. Like a lot of the pathing through the interior areas. I think it just works really well. I think this is a really well done complete package. Why I don't have this higher? Probably 2 main reasons. One, I think this bomb site can be a little weird with how long angle it is. Kind of reminds me of Dust 2 in some ways, where you have the long A, and you can basically see through the whole site. It's a little bit different, obviously, because the bomb site's at the lower part here, and it's on the other side. But it's similar conceptually in some ways. This could be a little bit weird to cross with how long the angle is, especially late round. If you're fighting this long angle, it's just a bit weird. I feel like that normally doesn't happen outside of, I guess, Dust 2, but even then it's a bit different because of how the bomb site's set up. So I think this is a little weird. I don't think it's bad. Maybe if I played it more, I would not have so much of an issue with it, but it always feels weird to play this, especially if you're on an eco. It's just not always fun to peek into an angle this long, especially being forced to. You can argue Dust 2 is the same problem, but and then I would say Dust 2 would be ranked number 3. You know what I mean? So yeah. that is my first, I guess, quote unquote issue. Second issue, complete subjective complaint, but I think I would like some of the blending more if it was bare plaster. I know that is not what the castle looks like in real life, and for that reason, you're completely free to think I'm stupid for saying this, thinking this is my feedback, but I think the like this dirt here, it's like a dirt blend type thing. I'm honestly not a huge fan of like the dirt blend. I know that's what it looks like in real life. I just don't like the color composition it gives. I just feel like with bare plaster it would be a lot better. And you have this kind of bare plaster look here in some areas. Like this is like a decal, but like still, it's like a bare plaster look. And some other areas you kind of have it too, like here for example. And that's really good. I just would like to see more of that, to be honest. And I realize that's not what it looks like in real life. And maybe for that reason you think this is a stupid complaint. But that's kind of my opinion. And I think the same thing applies to like over here, for example. But I would just like to see more of that. And honestly, maybe then you would think that I would never rank this map higher, and that's fair. I just think it would look better that way, and I understand that why that might not want to be done, but that's just kind of my opinion. But otherwise, I think this is a really well done map. I really like the layout. I've played this several times. I don't know how many, but several. I don't really have anything super negative to say about it. I mean, my complaints were really just kind of subjective things on it, but otherwise, I quite like it. I also want to point out what I really like is this breakable door. This custom breakable door. This is really well done. Really like it. You don't really see custom breakable doors like this too much, especially with completely custom shapes. This is just not done. I mean, for one reason it's not done is because putting custom doors on a map is quite hard to do. Players often a lot of times don't realize that it's a does this not break? Players don't often realize that it is a actual breakable door, or that it's an actual door. You know what I mean? Like, so for a lot of purposes, people just use like nuke doors, so that players notice that it's actually supposed to be an openable door. But here it's like it's a completely separate thing. Like it's a unique thing, which is really cool. Really like the custom gives on it. Really like makes it feel really unique. Really good amount of custom assets. I think most of the assets are custom. Really well done. Feels like a CS map. I really like it. Aside of a few subjective complaints, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to move on to the next map. Honestly, the top two of this contest, or at least like of the maps here, I mean, I even said for the top four. I think you could argue, like, I think there's a case to be made that these could be in any order, really, just depending on your subjective feedback. And I think I completely agree. I'm not ranking these off of the actual criteria that the judges will use. This is just kind of me ranking maps head to head. I'm just kind of putting what I think is, putting what I think where. That being said, my number 2 pick, I think, is going to be Golden. And this might also be a surprise for people, because this is also a map people had in first place, or at least near there. But for me, I actually have this map at number 2. Nothing... Okay, so let me give a little bit of backstory. When this map first dropped, people were like, this is going to win the contest. This looks really good. And it does look really good. It's a very interesting theme, kind of like a mining island type thing with, like, you know, the traditional buildings, which looks good, but I don't know why I said but it looks good, and it does it really well. But honestly, the issue I have at this point with this map, kind of subjective. I don't know if it's because a lot of maps kind of stole the midday lighting type thing because this map kind of did it first in the contest. I don't know if it's because a lot of maps stole it or if it's because of all the other maps being finalized, but I think this map has lost a lot of its WoW appeal for me. It still looks very good, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just not as interesting as it used to be for me. And a lot of that is because a lot of the other maps are finalized now, and they're at an equal level of detail. And when I re-look at this map compared to the other maps, and just kind of compare the level of detail, I honestly think this is comparable, like very comparable to the other maps now at this point. And I also think that also means that this map is actually behind a couple areas clutter-wise. So for example, this area, I honestly think this map, or this area is honestly missing some clutter now. Now that every other, like when this was first dropped, I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's a perfect level of detail. But honestly, a lot of maps have more detail in areas like this now. And for me, I feel like there just needs to be more clutter here. I feel that way about some of these areas back here. This is okay. Like, honestly, I think you could make the case that there could be more clutter here yet. But, like, for example, over here, like, you know, it almost, I don't want to say it feels empty, because it doesn't, but, like, compared to some other maps, it feels like there could be more clutter thrown around in some places. Like, even here, like, it's just kind of a clean building. I feel like there could be more clutter. But honestly, that's really my only gripe with this map. I have not played it, which is kind of a big issue, because if I don't like this map, I think it could drop down like 2 places. But I'm just kind of judging based off of what I've heard, what I've seen, how I think the layout plays, especially with this mid area being kind of wonky with this like drop type thing. But I think on its art merits, I think it's very good, very interesting theme. Only gripe, missing some clutter in some areas. I would like to see some more. Like here, for example, there's like kind of basically no clutter. So I'd like to see that. And honestly, that's the only reason it's not higher for me. If I had more clutter, very well might be number 1. I'd also probably need to play it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this map. So let's move on to number 1. All right, and my pick for number 1, maybe a surprise pick for some people, is Canopy. This was a really tough choice to decide which map to put number 1, but I think I have decided on Canopy. And my main reason is that it's quite different from everything else in the contest. To be honest, it's more of a nighttime-ish type thing. You could argue maybe it's like late overcast, same, not really overcast, but same type of thing. You know what I mean? So it's unique in that regard. It's raining. It is surprisingly basically the only map that's raining in the top 10. I honestly thought more maps would do this, just because Train dropped it like in the middle of the contest ish. I really thought more maps would do this. They didn't. It works really well on this map. This is supposed to be like I believe like an Indonesian rainforest buildings type thing. I don't know. It feels very CS to me, just because it's kind of nondescript, but also like feels like a real place. So kind of on top of what I said, it is quite different. It looks quite different from every other map, which is definitely a huge plus. Looking unique is very good. You also have these really good colors. So the base of the map is kind of like this grayish, dark gray type thing, which is good. And then you have this green on top of it, and then like the buildings are yellow. You have like this red on some of these buildings, and then like the green everywhere. It feels kind of like ancient in some cases, but I think it's much more interesting than ancient artistically. So much more interesting geometry, more interesting colors, more interesting shapes in some of these like rocks and stuff. I think in a lot of ways it is a lot better than ancient. And I think it looks very good. Again, composition really good. My dog is mad at me. Sorry about that. I had to cut out my dog barking. And anyway, and yeah, it's just really well done. It's as a whole package, it's really well done. I have played this map. I will say this is not my favorite layout of the contest, but I think it works. It does its job. It's not bad by any means. I think it's fine. I wouldn't put it one of my favorite layouts, but I think it's good for what it's trying to do. It does the job. Honestly, not much negative to say here. The only thing negative I can think to say would be maybe some of these buildings could use a little bit more clutter in them, like this one and like this one maybe. But honestly, that's pretty much it. I mean, like, you could honestly say the same thing for like this A-site building here, but it's honestly got a good level of clutter, I think. But I mean, yeah, it's just really well done. I have heard some people complaining about, there used to be this really interesting bridge thing over here with like a river and like a waterfall type thing, and that is not here anymore. It's just kind of like a wall with some buildings. I actually, this is maybe the hottest take I've had here. I actually think this looks better without that bridge. I think this works a lot better compositionally, just to kind of be a wall. Because your eye does not need to be attracted to the outside of the map. It's nice to have details out there, but you don't need to be drawing people's eyes to it. And so for that, I think this fits a lot more because it kind of like it's not distracting you when you're looking over here. And I think it's just really well done. I mean, I wish I had more negative to say about it. If I had negative things to say, I would say them. I'm not trying to hold back here, but I don't know. I mean, this map has changed so much. It's been so different across so many versions, layout-wise and art-wise. I feel like they've redone the art like 5 times and redone the layout like 17 times. But honestly, I feel like the state it's in right now is very good. I've always had concerns after they've redone stuff. I'm like, why did they change it? It was fine before, and I still think that. But I also think the state it's in right now, very good. You can argue the ends justify the means. Wish I had more complaints, but yeah, that's pretty much what I think about Canopy. All right, well, thank you everybody for watching. This was my top 10. If you have any questions you want to ask me, you want to ask me for further feedback about anything, if you want to ask me for feedback about your map and you didn't make it into the top 10, let me know. I will record videos for people showing my feedback. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for today. So if there's anything, I'll put my Discord in the description. You can leave a comment on this video. But otherwise, thank you for watching, everybody.